Hi everyone, and welcome to the recording for LCP role in Induction. So today there's a few objectives that we need to meet. Firstly is to understand how Induction relates to the wider LCP role. Second is understand the purpose of Induction. And thirdly is to understand what to do as an LCP before, during, and after the induction process. So firstly, I want to ask if you still remember the following slides. If you remember this one, the LCP measures of success, where the main changes that were made is instead of over 80% of LC members productive, is now 70% of LC members achieving 100% of goals, both for your LC as leader of the LC and AIESEC in Australia as an NLT member. The general roles of the LCP GED being CEO, EB team management, international relations driver, and LC culture shaper. The non-negotiables, one of two slides, which are listed here. And finally the tab of transition, which was about being the leader of the LC, and specifically about leading your membership, how to be a leader for all layers of your LC when everyone has their own direct team leader, and what is the thing that you need to do as an LCP. This was me on the induction day of AIESEC Victoria back in 2014. So we ran it as a region, and as an LCP, I was really excited to be able to deliver this day for all the new membership and really nervous at the same time. I felt a lot of pressure to be the idea of, what is the ideal AIESECer to actually role model towards all these people who are interacting with AIESEC for the first time. And still a really big sense of excitement because these were the people that I was going to work with for the next year. And these were some of them. This was actually taken at the first AIESEC in Melbourne LCM of 2014 after we got all of our new membership. There are some faces that stayed around and actually continued in the organization, some who were only there for the year. And even finding these photos gave me that kind of flashback thought of what was I doing and how consciously was I acting as an LCP? Because the reality is that I wasn't really being that conscious about what I as LCP should do versus, say, the rest of my EB team, maybe the TLs that we had there. I really tried to play my role in terms of okay, now it's time for me to make a speech. Now I'm going to mingle with the members, except not really knowing exactly what I was supposed to do. And getting new members can also feel a little bit like this. Maybe not so exasperated as we see in the picture. Still, our new members are full of life. They're ready to explore. For those of us who are as LCP, maybe we feel like, yeah, we've been around for a while, except it's a really good time to actually bring that sense of childlike curiosity in, and also to not take for granted the kind of experience that the members are going to have and how we have a part to deliver them. So with this slide, the first thing that we need to start with is that all of us as members of AIESEC are not part of AIESEC's promise of contribution to the world. We're not part of the experiential learning development phase. We are the people who are driving all of that. We are the people who are driving leadership through exchange. And actually, since 2016, the sole purpose of membership is to achieve AIESEC 2020. It's the sole priority. And for all of us, while we're going to have great experiences in the year ahead, while we've already had some really great and challenging times in AIESEC, us being here is not the point of AIESEC. So not only with us as current membership, also all of the new members who are about to join us are also part of that. And significant leadership through exchange as our main thing is a thing that we're driving. Because when we talk about AIESEC 2020, AIESEC 2020 is an ambition for the organization to reach by the year 2020, and it signifies the kind of dream of what we want AIESEC to look like by that point in time. And if we bring that closer back home, because sometimes things like AIESEC 2020 can feel so far away, what we're driving for in 2018 is this significant leadership through exchange as our main thing. So every single person you're bringing into your LC and all of your EB and as well as your TLs and your leadership teams, we're all responsible for driving this. Timeline is everything. And there isn't a better place to learn and experience that than AIESEC, because here we are on the 3rd of February, when I'm recording this, where we have recruitment assessment centers ongoing, we're preparing for OWIG, and IGT meetings are slowly starting to pick up around the country. And this is where the end of winter peak is going to be. This is actually even past MC Tweak's term. So while I might not be personally here, these are the things that are going to be happening at the end of the peak. We'll be making sure that all of the experiences that we actually delivered in winter become completes, because that's what we're here to do. A lot of IGT realizations, which is super exciting because we're bringing more people into Australia. And while all of that is going on, actually, there's also an opens peak for the upcoming summer, which is the biggest peak for Australia. And between where we are and getting to that point in August, while it might sound very far away, in order to get there, if we want completes, then we need the realizations to happen. That some still happen in July, and we have opens already starting to happen for the summer. We also have accepts in order to make sure that those realizations for IGT can happen. 1 month back is actually the bulk period of when we will realize most of our EPs, because people usually go after their exams, and it's the bulk period where we're going to sign contracts for IGT. And as we keep going back, then if we want people to realize in June, May's our last chance for those approvals. And IGT, if we want those contracts, then we need to be meeting those companies for sure. In April, we've got approvals. We've got some opens happening from previous activity. We have state conferences, which are going to be another point with the new membership. We have OGV, a lot happening in this month, open to applicant to accept, IGT meetings and opens. And then we have the last week of February to really drive those OGV opens, the key reason why we've been running recruitment so early, as well as getting those meetings. And like I mentioned, when we look from now until August, while it feels like a long time, we can see how packed our months are. And if we backwards plan our way all the way up until this day, we can see how crucial it is to make sure that our membership is up to speed. If we're here to achieve AIESEC 2020, if AIESEC in Australia is here to reach our national direction of 2018 first, and then we actually have summer peak after this, which is the biggest peak for AIESEC in Australia, then there's a lot of things on our plate, and we cannot afford to let that timeline slip up at any point. And so this is why we need to have induction. And like I said at the top, induction is not a one-day thing. It's very tempting to think of it as that day where you gather and then you physically talk with your members. And you can see from here, it's actually a 10 or more day process where there's a key question, which is that we as AIESECers ask ourselves, how fast can we develop our members to enable them to achieve their first result? Because that's what a really effective induction actually is about. It's not about how good they feel, how many friends they've made. It's not about simply these things, because you don't need to be an AIESEC to experience that sense of belonging. You can join university, you can make a group of friends. We're here to actually move closer to BNF, to empower more youth, to deliver significant leadership through exchange. And we really need to ask ourselves, how can we make sure that the newest member who joins can quickly get up to a stage where they can actually start to make a contribution towards all these great things we're striving for? And let's take Russell as our new member. And I want to ask everyone, even though this is a recording, and I will take some time to pause, that given our context, given that we have this timeline that we need to uphold, given that we know what direction we're moving in for 2018, then for a new member, before, during, and after this induction process, what should that member be feeling, be thinking, and also be doing? So let me give some time just for you to consider. You can also pause the video right now if you do need more time to think. Feeling, thinking, and doing. Just about 10 more seconds that I'll give. Great. So now, hopefully you have a few things in mind, or maybe you've jotted it down in front of you. Let's start with feeling, because even though it's very tempting to focus on content, focus on what people will interact with, whether we're conscious of it or not, our feelings really do guide our attitude and mindset towards the things that we're doing. So, for an effective induction to take place where members can start to achieve as soon as possible, excitement, curiosity, clarity, and determination were some words that came to mind. A true sense of excitement to be part of AIESEC, a curiosity to find out more, because in this 10-day process alone, we're definitely not planning to show the entire scope of the organization. We just want to give enough of a taste, and that's why clarity is there. Just enough clarity to know this is why the organization exists, these are the things that we do, and that determination to move forward and start to make things real and start to want to move towards significant leadership through exchange. Down there, you've got values, strengths, passions, and purpose, which are part of our competency model for membership, which is part of the TM processes, the new and refreshed ones, and those are where those feelings that I have listed out above also come from. That as AIESECers, as members of AIESEC, these are the things that we should expect to feel and for our membership to be able to feel. So now on to thinking. We've got, this idea of I can't wait to contribute, let's get going, we've got a lot of stuff to do, we can't waste any time. And also let me apply, learn, and adjust. That I am keen and eager to actually learn things. And what I'm thinking is that I know all of this knowledge that I've gained, and now let me actually start to do it so I can learn even more. And these are the mind competencies that we have for AIESECers all around the world, that ideally we want to have a membership which will showcase the attitude for growth, for empathy, for eagerness, and also agility, where we have the apply and learn and adjust, or launch, learn, tweak, repeat, as you might remember from the previous year, matching up to agility. Let's get going, I can't wait to contribute, matching up to eagerness. The growth and empathy are things that can definitely be developed and also form part of what people are thinking at that point. Finally, doing, which is the most interesting part, because by the end of induction, people would have only been in the organization for those 10 days or so. And what would be really great to see is the fact that people are applying what they know about their functional skills and putting their thoughts and feels into action. All of that eagerness, all of that curiosity, that determination is actually starting to show itself in the things that people are actually doing. And then there's us, the Ps, or all of you as LCPs in particular. And again, while maybe not as old or maybe not as sad looking, what do we do before, during, and after the induction process? Keeping in mind that we want to make sure that our membership can perform to be able to achieve their first result and to be able to do that fast, and also keeping in mind what new members will be feeling, thinking, and doing. So again, I'm going to give a bit of time, and I want to invite you to ask yourself, what should you be doing at this before, during, and after stage as an LCP? Ten more seconds here. Feel free to pause the video if you need more time. So it actually starts here, going back to some of the non-negotiables of the LCP JD, and in particular, this point, being finally responsible for the direction of the LC. That this is a fantastic point to showcase it in the induction period, because if there's something that members should have no doubt about, it's that as the LCP, you're steering the ship. You're really making sure that while people have their say and contribution in where the LC goes, that at the end of the day, you're the one who's helping to keep everyone on course, helping to keep everyone focused and ready to fight for the things that we need to do. And from these general roles, particularly looking at this one, being the LC culture shaper. ensuring that the LC culture you want to see starts and is driven by you. Things like culture, I mean, if we think about it, then maybe we would think, okay, Google apparently has a great culture. When we think about AIESEC and the kind of culture that we have, maybe sometimes the culture that we want is not necessarily correlating with the culture that we want to see. And the great thing, the wonderful thing about being LCP is that it does start with you. So how does this all relate towards induction? In the before phase, the few things that we'll see, firstly, is to make sure that EB are on the same page about the objective of enabling members to achieve. I cannot say enough how important it is for things to be explicit throughout the term of being an LCP. And what I mean by that is because sometimes we feel that something may be so obvious to us that of course everyone should know about it and also do it. And induction, if you really dig deeper, can mean different things for different people on your EB. So this key question of how fast can we develop our members to enable them to achieve their first result, that needs to be the thing that you as LCP need to bring to the table about this is the thing that we're going to do because this is our priority, because of the things that we need to achieve, and being able to make sure that the EB is on the same page. And the second point is together with the EB, have clarity on the culture and behaviors you want to shape in your LC. Luckily, this is something that was part of your LC planning. And the cool thing is because 1 month has passed since that plan was finalized and this point right now, you can really start to understand, are these the behaviors that we really want to see? And if behaviors are things that should be able to be observed, then putting it into an induction perspective, what should people be doing as members are arriving? How should the EB be acting when a session is going on, even if the EB is not a FASI? And also, what are the things that your EB will be talking about with the new members during breaks, during lunch, and all of these things? Because culture is shaped by our behaviors, not just from the things that we put on the screen, by the things that we are actually doing every single day. So before, ensuring that that conversation actually happens. Next, going back to this slide, we look at not only being final responsible for the direction, because you could be final responsible for the direction of your LC, and you could decide to turn AIESEC into an ice cream truck, for example. And your second most important thing and non-negotiable about your JD is to make decisions according to our essence, which is the AIESEC way, and also our progress according to AIESEC 2020, and also our national 2018 direction. That a lot of things we're doing globally for 2020 are already being embedded into the things that we want to do for AIESEC in Australia. So, given that, if we think about during, there's 2 key points in this whole flow where you have a very explicit involvement as an LCP. The first of which is induction day, where the members get to meet the committee for the first time and to see you as LCP as the face of the LC, not the be all, end all, anything that I say goes person. Still, that person who's really helping to keep everyone on track, keeping that vision alive, making sure that all the actions align towards the vision. That when we go through that organizational induction, there are a few key things that LCPs need to deliver. And because it doesn't end there, the first LCM is crucial. That speech that you first make as an LCP, again, not everything comes down to the speech that you make and what you say. At the same time, in these very early days, how are you forming an impression about the kind of leader that you are going to be for the LC? And this does not necessarily mean that you are going to be a leader who really wants to separate yourself from the pack, who really thinks that being LCP is more important than anyone else. Because it's not about LCP being more important. It's about you need to establish yourself as an LCP who has a role to play. That after these 10 days of induction, your members see what the point of an LCP is. And that is your opportunity to be able to establish that in the induction day and for the first LCM very explicitly. And if we summarize that, the during phase of an LCP, firstly, is to be the guardian of the AIESEC way and the direction of the organization, which is our progress, including taking these organizational induction sessions, which are going to be on that induction day on day 4 itself, as well as anything that needs to be covered in LCM. And when Ivan releases his guide about induction, you will be able to see where that essence and progress session comes in, and to be able to uphold that and really represent that as an LCP. And this is one of many points in time where you'll get to put yourself in front of your LC, really get to have a feel of how you best present, you best communicate the things that the organization stands for. And it forms a really great opportunity to think about, how do you want to deliver this? And then afterwards debrief, how did I do it? How am I going to get better at it? And keep being able to do this for my membership as the term goes on. The second point is, with that LC culture and behaviors that you discussed before induction with your EB, now is to embody it. Not only in those sessions when you're a FASI and when you've planned things out, also outside of them. That if you really want to shape, say, a proactive LC, how are you proactively going up to your new members and talking to them in break times? How are you really showcasing all those behaviors so that the things you put on your slides will start to subconsciously make sense with what your members actually see you do? And finally, we come into after. Because at the end of it all, firstly, while your VPTM has a huge role to play in this whole induction process, it's a very important part of their JD, what an LCP can do is to drive the conversation about overall effectiveness of induction and assessing the percentage of members achieving 100% of their goals at regular intervals. Always, always remember that key question. If people feel like AIESEC is great and AIESEC is a family, that's fantastic. At the same time, is induction helping to achieve the purpose of why you're running it to begin with? And secondly, to continue to role model, and this is one part which we often forget, is actually to reinforce the culture and behaviors you want to shape in your LC. Not just those ones that you want to see, whether it is proactivity, also calling out those behaviors which you don't want to see, which may be to do with exclusion, if you have cliques forming within your LC and anything like that. Sometimes it's not just about showcasing the good stuff, it's also becoming that person to say, if we are really going to effectively work together in the way that we need to, if we are really going to live up to our LC's potential, then X, Y, and Z is also not okay. And that is the end of all of the content. So if I backtrack and I talk about all the before and during and after, especially going back into this slide here, you can see that this is the whole flow of induction, and the LCP role, while it explicitly comes into these two aspects, which I've circled here, by no means does this mean that you don't have a role to play, because that culture and behavior shaping is crucial, it's vital. Your new members need to see it from day one, even integrating it into the email that's even sent to them to tell them that they are in AIESEC, all the way going into what they are going to experience and feel and see once the semester starts to progress, and once they start to actually become key contributors towards that timeline that we know we need to keep on top of if we are to really fulfill our promise of that national 2018 direction. So alongside with this recording, I am going to put the link to the slides in the description of this video, and I'll invite you to go to the very last slide and comment your what went well and even better if about this education, especially considering that it is a pre-recorded one with no one present, and we would really love to know how to improve these in the future. So this has been Jessie, your MCP, sharing some thoughts, perspectives, as well as guidelines for what an LCP needs to do. And I really hope that you enjoy just as much as I did when I was an LCP inducting my members, this really incredibly special moment where people are interacting with AIESEC for the first time. You're going to be able to generate that buy-in for the first time, to be able to create that commitment, which comes from a sense of wanting to contribute to the organization and knowing what they can get in return. It's an amazing time period ahead. Not only do I wish you all the best in a way that almost sounds like I'm like, okay, bye, good luck here. I also really encourage you to reach out to your coaches, reach out to me. Let's chat in the P-chat during this point in time when we can really figure out what are the ways in which LCPs can play their role in induction. So that's all for now, and we'll see you in the next recorded webinar.